Hey friends, you know what time it is? It's Thursday afternoon, so it's time for some Q&A with yours truly. Ask anything you want, and I'll be answering the pre-submitted questions, but if you have something you need to ask, you can ask it over in the chat right now, or if you need a little anonymity and privacy, go ahead and drop it to me in DMs or carrier pigeon too. That's fine, although no guarantees if it'll make it to me because there's hawks in my backyard and carrier pigeons might not make it through. So the first question I have today, Leigh Brown, you are always so energetic and on. I need to know what your secret is. What keeps you motivated and fired up on a daily basis? All right, first of all, got to tell y'all, it is the blood of Jesus Christ. Look, I will tell you, there is a joy that comes from knowing the Lord, knowing that when you make giant mistakes, which I'm really good at making spectacular mistakes, as long as I confess my mistakes and try to do better, I'm going to be forgiven. That's going to give you a lot of motivation to keep going. I got to tell you, there's also this peace that comes from knowing I don't have to know everything and I'm actually not in charge. Whoop, whoop. So I can do a lot of great things, but his plan for me is already set. So I have a lot of comfort in that. It doesn't mean I can't stop moving, but that's really important. Now, if that's too much church for some of y'all, I'll also tell you that I run. Why do I run? I'm never going to win a race. I mean, if I do, it's because nobody else showed up. Let's be honest. That's why runners cherry pick. We admit it. But I'm medium aged. I'm not super fast anymore. Every day when I wake up, something new hurts. I still get up and go because no matter how bad that first mile hurts, mile 2 is going to feel better. And then mile 3 is going to feel a little bit better. By mile 4, I'm feeling all right, which I know that sounds crazy if you're not a runner to know that it takes that long for the blood to move and for your muscles to get moving. But isn't that everything in life? The rewards don't come right away. It takes a minute. It takes some pain. It takes some discipline. Because look, I don't want to get up and go. I admit to y'all, when the alarm goes off, I'd just as soon lay in the bed. I would just as soon not get up. But I make myself sling my legs over the edge. I make myself stand up and go take out my retainer from my Invisaligns, and I make myself go to the kitchen and get that first cup of coffee. Then I'm moving. Once you start moving, it's so much easier to keep going. What's that law of physics? An object in motion tends to stay in motion. For some of y'all, that might be all the motivation you need, just to remember that the laws of physics are in your favor. Whoop, whoop. That's a great thing. The other thing that keeps me motivated is after I get to the end of that run, I know I'm going to be glad. Seriously, I've never gotten to the end of a run and said I should not have done that. That's not how running works. You get to the end and you might be wrung out, exhausted, a sweaty mess, tired, grumpy, hungry. You might need to go to the restroom. Your toes might have a blister and you don't care because when you get to the end, you know that you accomplished something. And I got to tell you that I love accomplishing things. I love checking things off. That's why I work on a checklist. That keeps me motivated too, to go through and knock things off my list. And especially when there's a phone call I don't want to make, that I can make it happen. Because if I can run the first mile, I can make an uncomfortable phone call. Rest of them are easy after that. All of these things add up. Now, I don't know what your magic recipe is, and your recipe is likely very different than mine. Maybe you don't like to exercise. I still think you should, whatever way makes you comfortable, because you got to move. And maybe you're not interested in talking to the Lord with prayer and devotion and the scriptures. I'll be glad to share with you where I go with my devotions. I'll share. I'm glad to. If that's not you, then you find you. Because your biggest energy is going to come from knowing that you have a North Star. I know what mine is. I know where I'm focused, and I know what matters most. If you figure that out, y'all, the rest of this is so much easier than you ever imagined. Now, that was a really deep answer to a question that y'all thought was small, but here we go. All right, maybe this is a silly question, but how do you stay organized and on top of things? See, I thought the first one y'all thought was silly. This is not silly at all. It seems like you always have it together, even though you're so busy. What systems and habits keep you at the top of your game? Look, I should probably find my secret to show you. Let me bend over here and look in my backpack. Oh, see? It's not on my desk today, but it reminded me of something I have to get done. because I keep the stacks of things I have to get done together so I can do all the things. I ran into a friend of mine that I have known since elementary school at a church function. She wanted a copy of my cookbook, and her mama was with her, and her mama wanted a copy too. And I said I would get one to them. And look, I would have forgotten if it weren't with my planner, which is my go-to. So that's step number one. Learn how to keep things together. You know how in your kitchen you have a junk drawer? I'm pretty sure it's a requirement in every house, even though it's not on the blueprints that way, that there be a junk drawer, and everything lands in there. And it takes you a minute to find it, but you ish know where things are. So that's also a helper to you. The planner that I use is a daily and weekly planner. I like that it has color-coded tabs on it. This one is called The Simplified Planner by EmilyLey.com, EmilyLey.com. And here's why I like it. On my monthly, when I can track the metrics I want to track monthly. And so for me, that is speaking engagements. That is agents who are thoughtful enough to make me the recipient of their referral buyers and sellers. That is the miles that I run. That is the number of phone calls that I make. And so those are my metrics. I want to see a month's worth of those, because day by day, you won't be able to see them add up. Now, my day by day looks more like this, where I've got on one side of the day, the things that must happen. No negotiating. For example, in North Carolina real estate contracts, we have a due diligence period. That's your time frame to do all investigations. When it ends cold at 5:00 p.m., not 5:01 and not 4:59. That's got to be on my calendar. In fact, it's on my calendar a week prior, so I can make sure everything's done. Other things might be a little more flexible. That would be things like getting this training video built that I had to get built one day. It didn't have to happen at that moment, but I wanted to get it done. And so I have the must-haves and then the want-to-haves. That's part of what keeps me done. Now, when it comes to things like email, I have a system. It's called my 2-minute system. Here's what that means. If I see an email, if I can deal with it inside 2 minutes, I'm just going to do it right now. Knock it out, be done. If I can't do it in 2 minutes, I got two choices. One of them is delegated. I'm going to give that to one of my professional staff who can handle it correctly if it takes a little longer. So I'm going to pass that along. But maybe it's longer than 2 minutes and I cannot delegate it. Then it goes into my little book. If it is something that doesn't hit any of those markers, it might need to go into the delete file. You have to take charge of things like email, because it will run your life, and so will social media. So the other secret to time management is your airplane mode. Cut off your notifications, cut off all those little banners and the little red circles. And if you've hung out with me and I've looked at your phone, some of y'all have like 25,000 emails or texts, and you can see that my heart palpitations start and I can't hardly breathe, because I don't know how you function with a number like that on your phone, because it's going to cause stress knowing things aren't done. Cut it off. Start learning how to check your social media at intervals. Use it as a time calc if you want to while you're sitting in line. Maybe you could calc your time by looking at social media, but be thoughtful about that, because the line will move and you will not, and then people don't like you very well. All right, now what else to see? Oh, what else helps me stay organized while I'm busy? I know what's not worth it. I've had to learn that the hard way as a medium-aged person. Some things are not worth it, and so they don't make it onto my list at all. Other things mean a lot. And so I'm going to do as much as I can in a very concentrated time frame, and you can choose to do so too. I don't watch a lot of TV. You're not going to find me at the movie theaters, not just because the content's pretty junky right now, but because it's not a good use of my time. I don't like playing golf, because golf takes too many hours and I'm not very good either. That's a different discussion. But running, I can get done in the time frame that I expect. I can get a swim in the time frame I expect. I can carve out time to read a book. I love to read, so that makes it on my priority list. I don't love television. It doesn't. Look, all that's really personal, right? So you have to make these decisions to get your day under control. I'll just point out to you, though, I think you can get a lot more done than you are getting done. I'm fairly confident that most of you are letting more time slip through your fingers than you realize, and you can't get it back. We're right here. School has just started. My children are teenagers. Looking at them, I would give anything to go back and spend more time with them. And I've been fairly engaged the whole time, coaching ball teams and team mom. We've done so many travel and adventures together. We've taken days to go have staycations and field trips. We've done a ton, but as a mom, it's just never enough, right? So remember that as time runs through your fingers, what'd they say on As the World Turns, as the sands of the hourglass? Oh, that's the days of our lives. It's real. So honor the days of your life. That's what it means to be organized, really. It's not even just about efficiency. It's about honoring the time you have. Okay, last question here. Now we're in the real estate space. All right. Oh, I forgot to answer systems that help keep me at the top of my game. My number one system. If you are a fan of mine and you follow me for any length of time, you know what I'm about to say. Put it in the comments. You know what I'm going to talk about, right? My favorite system. My intake sheets. What? I know. They originally came to me from the amazing Crockett team in Mentor, Ohio, David and Judy Crockett, and of course their kids, Melissa and Todd. I got these intake sheets over 20 years ago. I've made modifications since then. One of the most important systems I have is printing them on colored paper. So my buyers are on blue and my sellers are on yellow. And I keep them in these nice little clear pockets so I can see what's written on it. This has helped me tremendously because I can find my inquiries on my desk at any given time, where every other piece of paper is white, whether it's tax records and septic maps or whatever. These colored papers just stick right out. And now that I've picked those up, I've got to call those people and check in. So that is a very important system. And by the way, I do have that free download with all the current updated versions. If you just let me know, we'll hook you up with that freebie. See, free things from Leigh Brown to you. All right. So now back to the last question. What advice would you give to a first-time home buyer? Advice I would give to a first-timers. I love first-time people. And you guys know how much you love them too, because their desire to learn about the process is as much of their desire as is finding the house. And I love that inquisitive nature of first-timers. Kind of wish some of the second and third timers would go back and be inquisitive, because things change all the time and not just our laws and our paperwork. So the first thing I would say to a first-time home buyer is figure out the money. And when I say figure out the money, you do not go to the interwebs to get pre-approved. Not your friend. A lot of these websites that are out there, you can just plug in some made up numbers and Shazam, it'll say you can go buy a house, and they didn't do the process thoroughly. And you really need a mortgage lender who's going to thoroughly look at your information and provide all of the available options. When you plug in your information on a website, they're going to spit out maybe 3 options tops. Well, that's like what happens when you go to your favorite restaurant and you're going with a group of friends and you're thinking, I love this place. I love X and Y and Z. And then they hand you the set menu for your group and it's got 3 entrees and a dessert and a salad. And you're like, I didn't get all the options. Everybody wants options. That's one of our things as humans. We love to be able to make our own choices. A personal relationship with a lender should do that for you if your lender's worth their salts. So for you as a first-time home buyer to get your hands around the money, you need a locally reputable, no, not locally reputable, a local reputable lender. Here's where you will get that name. You might know somebody from church or from the ball field. I mean, you'll know some people who are in the mortgage business, but how do you know if they're reputable and if they're who you want? You call your local realtor, because we have connections, and the connections that we've built go back years. We have spent so much time and money and really done a lot of investigation to make sure the people that help our people are amazing. Now, for example, I have several names on my list. One is amazing with first timers. One has a doctor loan program. This one's got VA expertise. This one loves investors. They all have a different skill set. And that's a really great thing, because most of my buyers have really a need for personalized service. So I'm going to give all of my buyers multiple names so that my buyers can make a choice. But the reality is this: you have to connect with that lender. And how do you connect with a lender? Well, they should be asking questions about you. So if you're buying for the first time, they should be asking you about your time frame. They should be asking you about your rental situation. Do you have a lease? Is there a buyout clause? What's the time frame? They should be asking you about your down payment situation. How much do you have saved up? They should be asking you if you're interested in down payment assistance programs, because many of those go unused because nobody thinks about it. They should be asking if your parents intend to be involved in any way, whether it's co-signing or with a down payment or just basically looking over the paperwork. We need to know what parents are involved. And they should really be asking these personalized questions so that you can shop from the full menu of options. You'd be shocked at how many of our first-time home buyers have honorably served the military, whether it's the National Guard or full-time, and they don't know about the VA loan program because nobody ever spent the time to educate them on it. A great lender is going to ask you questions that include, have you ever been in active duty, so that you can learn about the VA program. They're going to ask about down payment assistance. They're going to do a lot of questioning. Now, what that means is you better tell the truth, because it's hard to give you great options if you don't tell the truth. So that's another piece of advice I'd give to the first timer. If you're very nervous about your financial situation or you don't like it, a great local lender is also going to be awesome at confidentiality. So they're not going to judge you if it's going to take a year for you to buy. They're going to say, here's what you need to focus on. Focus on the credit score, and here's 3 options for making it better. Focus on your down payment. Here's how much you need. And they're going to help you get there. Buying a house really shouldn't be just this, I want to buy a house today thing, which it turns into a lot. It really should be a thoughtful process, because for most people, this is the largest financial instrument you'll ever own. And when you're buying for the first time, we want you to be thoughtful about that. Now, all of that's the money side, right? You're thinking, but gosh, Leigh, I got that figured out. All right, here's some other advice I'd give to first-time home buyers. Please look beyond single family. Oh my gosh, if there's any advice I would give to first-time buyers, it would be to highly consider duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, if they're available in your market and if they fit your budget at all. Here's why. If you buy a 4-unit, a quadplex, and you live in one, it's going to qualify as an owner-occupied property under Fannie and Freddie guidelines, under FHA, under VA. So many options out there. Those other 3, you can rent those out. And now you're probably going to have enough cash flow from these 3 renters to even cover your mortgage. So you might be living for almost no out of pocket if you're fully occupied. Oh my goodness, right? A single family property, it's you and you by yourself, and that's great. However, I want you to remember too, that first time property you're buying, you're probably going to be in it 3, maybe 4 years, because something will change in your life. Job promotions, job relocations, marriages, kids, lots of things happen. And that changes your situation, which could change your real estate needs. So make sure that after you get your money stuff started and you're talking to your local realtor, make sure your realtor is showing you the full menu as well. Some realtors don't talk about duplexes, triplexes, and quads because they're nervous about it because they don't know it. As a buyer, whether it's your first time, your 5th time, your 85th time, you have the right to interview your realtor and your lender and ask great questions. We want you to. Most of your highly skilled realtors love being interviewed. The ones who don't love being interviewed maybe don't have the right answers. So I want you to start there. I hope that's a really good bit of information for you. Obviously, I can talk about this for days, but let's see, what else can I tell you, first timers? I just want to hug you all because I mama hen the heck out of people. I will remind you that right now, as the economy goes through so much volatility and there's so many fits and spurts going on, make sure that whatever you buy, the monthly payment is below what you can stomach. And here's why. If your max is $2,500, have your lender cap you out around 22 or 23 so that you have a buffer for future cost increases to gas and groceries. And even if gas and groceries flatten out, that'd be all right. You might want to go out to eat once in a while. Leave a little room for that. You might want to save up and go to the beach. Save a little bit for that. We often get ourselves in that what we call house poor situation where you're maxed out. Please don't max out. If there's anything Mama Hen here can tell you is don't max out, because it's a lot of life to live beyond those 4 walls. And frankly, if your house is maxing you out, you won't want to come home to enjoy it. So anyway, there's all the questions I got for this week. So make sure that if you have something you want me to address, in complete anonymity and confidentiality, drop it into my DMs. If you want to ask it here in front of God and everybody, drop it into the chat. But most importantly, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you guys next Thursday